Recording in progress.
Hi, just checking the connection up to Tahoe. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Sounds good.
Over. Perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, oops, I'm getting a little back. Good morning, everyone. Oops, yeah, that's okay. Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. This is the October 23rd, 2025 Placer County Zoning Administrator and Parcel Review Committee hearing. My name is Crystal Jacobson, and I'm going to be the hearing officer for today. I want to start by first providing some information about the participation in the hearing process. So this room is open to in-person attendance. It looks like we also have a Tahoe convenience location, which is in person. Please also be advised that today's hearing is being recorded and will be available on the county's website under the Zoning Administrator and Parcel Review Committee agenda. So you can go back and listen to this hearing if you need to. In-person public comment will be offered during the meeting. While we do have a Tahoe convenience location, we are not opening this meeting to any comment via online, a Zoom platform as such. When providing public comment, please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and begin your comments, and you'll have 3 minutes to provide comment on any item on the agenda. So everyone understands how this will work. First, I will, for every item on the agenda except for consent, I will ask staff to provide their presentation and then ask the applicant or the representative or property owner to come to the podium and provide any additional information they want me to consider for the item. And then after that, I will open it up for public comment and then consider and take action on the item. And so before I get to that, first I'm going to convene this public hearing as the Zoning Administrator and Parcel Review Committee Chairman. And then before we begin reviewing any items on the agenda, I'd like to first open the floor up for public comment on any matter that is not included on today's agenda. And again, I'm going to open it up here and then also in Tahoe. So is there anybody in the room that wants to provide public comment on any item that is not listed on today's agenda? And again, for every agenda item, there'll be an opportunity to provide public comment. Okay, seeing none in the room here, how about the Tahoe convenience location?
I see no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'm going to move on to our consent agenda. And there are a number of items on the agenda, including items 9 through 20. My understanding, I think, is that staff would like to pull one item for consideration.
That is correct. Thank you, Zoning Administrator Jacobson. I did want to remove, or actually, or take off the consent calendar item, the Quick Quack Innovation Center review modification. It's PLN 25-00109 for the purposes of introducing an errata.
Okay, and that item is number, can someone confirm to me what number that is?
That's item 17.
Item 17.
Yes.
And also, Madam Administrator, just for clarity of the record, the consent agenda goes through item 21.
21, okay, thank you very much. Okay, so again, the consent agenda is what I'm considering right now, and it goes 9 through items 21. We are going to pull off number 17. So I will ask, is there anybody else in the room or at the Tahoe location that would like to pull any other item from the consent calendar for consideration? Okay, seeing none in the room. Anybody at the Tahoe? No. Okay. So with that, I am going to take action to approve all the items on the consent calendar. Again, items 9 through 21, with exception of item number 17. So those items are approved. So if there's anyone in the room, there's been some confusion on this in the past. If there's anyone in the room that is here to speak to any of those items that I just listed, I just took action on those, and so we will not be taking those up anytime later than now. So you're free to go if you had any comments on those. Okay, and with that, now I'm going to go ahead and take up item number 17 on the agenda, the consent agenda, which is the Quick Quack car wash item, and I'm going to turn to staff for a report.
Thank you, Zoning Administrator. Yeah, just to state for the record, the staff report as presented remains the same in effect. The errata that I'm going to read in is only for the modification of the recommended conditions of approval. and is as follows. The following errata identifies corrections relative to the Quick Quack Innovation Center project, which do not represent a substantial revision to the analysis. Revisions to the recommended conditions of approval. The following change resulting from administrative clerical error serves as a correction to the conditions of approval. The change is provided in a bold double underline for new text and double strike through for deleted text. The corrections consist of a deletion of one non-applicable condition of approval, corrective language for two conditions, and appropriate renumbering of the remaining conditions of approval as follows. So number 39, the improved plans shall show construction of public road entry driveway or onto Placer Boulevard and two public road entrance driveways onto South Loop Road to a detail ST-21 Land Development Manual LDM standard. The improvement plans shall also show the removal and restoration of the existing curb cuts encroachment stubs, and that's from ESD. There's a strike through. Condition number 47 has been eliminated. A renumbering of 48 to 47 shall read as follows. The improvement plans shall show the construction of center median along South Loop Road along the project frontage to restrict the southern encroachments to right in, right out movements only. The project shall coordinate with the project to the south of the South Loop Road regarding overlapping improvements, ESD/DPW. And the changes to the conditions of approval as detailed above are to correct, again, a clerical error and not considered significant new information. The remaining numbers will be renumbered in appropriate sequence. That is all.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to see if there's any other staff that have anything to add for the record.
Good morning, Ms. Jacobson. Environmental Health supports the project subject to our conditions of approval.
Great, thank you. And engineering?
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Engineering supports staff's recommendations with the conditions of approval and the changes that were just read into the record.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so this is a public hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and open this item up and see if there's anybody, or if the applicant, owner, representative is here and wishes to come to the podium. Yeah, come on up. State your name for the record, please.
Where we'll actually be doing research and development. We'll have two washes, not for the public, but for our development team to develop new products and perfect the car wash. We have 300 stores now and plan to have many, many more and want to be the very best car wash in the nation. And this is where we'll do that work to perfect that car wash. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, thank you. I think the only question I have is that did you get a copy of the errata that was just read into the record?
Yes, ma'am.
You did. Okay, so you're comfortable with the conditions as proposed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, and now I need to open it up to any other folks in the room that want to provide public comment on this item. Again, this is a public hearing on item number 17 on the agenda. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to take action to approve the design site review agreement for the Quick Quack Innovation Center design review modification. And that would be, and then also I'm going to take action to determine that the project is consistent with the previously certified Sunset Area Plan and Placer Ranch Specific Plan Environmental Impact Report pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines sections 15168, and that no additional environmental review is triggered per sections 15162 through 15164. The approval for the design review agreement is based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval as noted in the staff report and as amended with the errata today. So the approval of the design review agreement is subject to the conditions of approval and the errata provided here today. And that concludes that item. Also on this item, I can just note that the appeal period can be waived since we didn't have any folks that spoke on the item. So thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to take just a second here and get ready for the next item. So again, all items on the consent agenda have been approved, and we're now going to move on to the next, sorry, I think it's agenda item number 1. I'm having trouble with my binder here. Hold on, folks. Okay. Okay, we're now going to move on to items number 1 on the agenda, which is our 10 o'clock timed item, and it's 10:11, so we're good to go on this. This is a request for a minor land division extension of time, and I am going to turn it over to staff for a report on the item.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Staff requests the parcel review chair conduct a public hearing to consider the Apogeo minor land division extension of time and take the following actions. First action would be to determine the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with Section 15.315 of the CEQA guidelines. And second action would be to approve a 2-year extension of time in minor land division to subdivide a 2.46 acre parcel into 2 parcels consisting of 1.46 acres for parcel A and 1 acre for parcel B, in accordance with Placer County Code Section 16.20030, subject to recommended conditions of approval and findings. The 2.46 acre subject parcel is located on 3463 Baseline Road in the unincorporated Roseville area. The parcel is zoned residential agricultural, combining a minimum building site of 1.0 acres, and is developed with an existing residence on parcel B. And a residence with driveway accessing Baseline Road was recently constructed and is located on parcel A. On August 18, 2022, the Parcel Review Committee Chair approved the minor land division with an original expiration date of August 28, 2025. The property owner is requesting approval of a first 2-year extension of time. The applicant has been diligent in pursuing implementation of the project and has submitted both improvement plans for sewer improvements and a final map for staff review. However, additional time is needed to secure financing with an engineering company to establish the sewer connection with the city of Roseville. Based on the analysis contained in the staff report, staff recommends that the parcel review chair take the following actions. First, determine that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with Section 15.315 of the CEQA guidelines and Placer County Code Section 18.36170, Class 15 for minor land divisions, because it is a minor land division of 4 or fewer parcels, and the division is in conformance with the general plan and zoning. The second action, approve the Apogeo minor land division extension of time, subject to conditions of approval and based on the findings contained within the staff report. This concludes my presentation. With that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions at this time. I'm going to move on to environmental health.
Environmental Health has no comments on the extension of time request.
Okay, and engineering and surveying.
Engineering and surveying supports staff's recommendation with the conditions listed in the staff report.
Great, thank you. Okay, again, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up right now and see if the applicant, owner, or representative is here and wishes to come to the podium. Yeah, come on up to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fani Apogeo. I'm the owner of the property.
Good morning. Just wanted to see if you had any additional information to provide, or if you have seen the conditions of approval for.
I don't have any questions. I spoke to Nick and I know what's happening.
Great, thank you.
And I'm requesting the approval for the time.
Okay, great. You can go ahead and take a seat. Thank you. Okay, again, is there, as public hearing, is there anybody else in the room that wishes to provide public comment on this matter? Okay, and then I guess I do have to ask Tahoe. Nobody in Tahoe. Okay. So seeing none, I'm going to take action to first determine that the project is categorically exempt from the environmental review in accordance with sections 15.315 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. And then I'm going to take action to approve a 2-year extension of time for the minor land division to subdivide the property into 2 parcels in accordance with Placer County Code sections 1836-170. And the approval is subject, it's based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval attached in the staff report. And because we did not have any public comment on this item, I can waive the appeal period. So the appeal period is waived and you are free to move forward with your project. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that. Okay, we're moving on now to item number 2 on the agenda. This is the 10:05 timed item. It's the Egeman Minor Land Division PLN 24-00157. And I am going, we do have some public comment on this, which I think staff will speak about. And it sounds like our main planning staff is out today, so it looks like Callie, you're gonna go ahead and provide a report on the matter for planning.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jacobson. The matter before you this morning is a minor land division named Egeman, PLN 24-00157. Staff requests the parcel review chair conduct a public hearing to consider the Egeman minor land division and take the following actions. The first is to adopt the mitigated negative declaration, state clearinghouse number 2025-08-0184 in accordance with section 15070 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and section 18.16.010 of the Placer County Environmental Review Ordinance. The second action is to approve a minor land division to subdivide an existing 10.14 acre parcel into 4 resultant parcels in accordance with Placer Code section 16.20.030, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. The applicants Amanda and Mike Egeman, on behalf of property owner Haley Egeman, are requesting the approval of a minor land division to subdivide a 10.14 acre parcel into 4 resultant parcels. Proposed parcel 1 would be 5.1 acres, proposed parcel 2 would be 1.2 acres, proposed parcel 3 would be 1.6 acres, and proposed parcel 4 would be 2.1 acres. The subject property is located at 11820 and 11826 Joger Road in the unincorporated Auburn area. The subject property totals 10.14 acres and is zoned RS AG B43 AO, which means residential single family, combining agriculture, combining minimum building site of 43,560 square feet, and combining aircraft overflight. The property does have a split zoning, and a portion of the property is also zoned RSAG B43 SPAO, which means residential single family, combining agriculture, combining minimum building site of 43,560 square feet, combining special purpose, combining aircraft overflight. The project site is located within the Auburn-Bowman Community Plan area and is designated rural, low-density residential, 0.9 to 2.3 acres minimum. Proposed parcel 1 is developed with 2 single-family dwellings and 2 existing driveways. Proposed parcels 2, 3, and 4 are currently undeveloped. A new private road is proposed off Joger Road parallel to Meadow Glen Road and would grant access to proposed parcels 1, 2, 3, and 4. The surrounding parcels are zoned RS AG B43 SPAO. Prior to today's hearing, staff received 3 comment letters from surrounding neighbors in opposition to the project. Public comments received raised concerns regarding the environmental review conducted for the project, the location of the proposed driveway, tree removal which occurred prior to the submittal of the project application, increased traffic resulting from the project, compliance with the Placer County Conservation Program, also known as the PCCP, as well as impacts resulting from grading. In addition to the comment letters received before the hearing, staff received comment letters during the public review period of the mitigated negative declaration, including 3 letters from PG&E, Caltrans, and the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board, as well as 6 letters from neighboring property owners. The comment letters from the 2 state agencies and PG&E were procedural public review letters. The letters from the neighbors expressed opposition to the project and raised concerns regarding removal of trees, review of protected species and PCCP compliance, cultural and historic resources, the location of the road, and statements that the proposal should be considered as a major subdivision with preparation of an environmental impact report. The location of the road, grading, and stormwater runoff have been reviewed by the county's Engineering and Surveying Division. The project is required to comply with conditions of approval and mitigation measures to prepare and submit improvement plans, and are required to comply with best management practices or BMP measures for erosion control. The project is also required to comply with construction measures addressing dust control. Tree removal was conducted prior to the submittal of the application. In conducting environmental review per the California Environmental Quality Act, the baseline condition is considered the existing physical setting at the time of application submittal. 2 code enforcement complaints regarding tree removal and hazardous vegetation were received in 2024. Upon investigation of the complaints, the county determined a tree permit was not required because the removal did not meet the threshold for permit requirements. The project is not located within the PCCP. However, a biological resource assessment was prepared for the project, and the project is required to comply with mitigation measures for impacts to habitat. The basis for a major or minor subdivision is based on the number of resultant parcels. A major subdivision is 5 or more resulting parcels, and 4 or fewer is a minor land division. This minor land division complies with the zoning and the land use designation. Based on the analysis contained in the staff report, staff recommends that the parcel review chair take the following actions. The first is to adopt the mitigated negative declaration, State Clearinghouse number 2025-080184, in accordance with Section 15070 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and Section 18.16010 of the Placer County Environmental Review Ordinance, and to approve a minor land division to subdivide an existing 10.14 acre parcel into 4 resultant parcels, subject to the conditions of approval and based on the findings contained within the staff report. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I might have questions in a little bit here, so I'm going to turn to environmental health.
Thank you. Environmental Health supports staff's recommendation, subject to our conditions in the staff report.
Great, thank you. And engineering and surveying.
Engineering and surveying also supports based on the conditions in the staff report.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the applicant, and then I might have questions for staff a little bit later. So with that, again, this is a public hearing, and so I'm going to open it up. If the applicant, owner, or representative wishes to come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Mike Egeman, co-applicant, along with my wife Amanda Egeman, on behalf of the property owner Haley Egeman, our daughter. Thank you, Mrs. Jacobson, Parcel Review Committee, and Placer County staff for the opportunity to speak today. We, the Egeman family, purchased this property February of 2023 with absolute intention of completing a minor land division to split the 1 10-acre lot into 4 parcels. What appealed to us is the fact that the property is already surrounded by existing development, and our infill efforts would conform to the neighborhood. The property is not in the PCCP, but it is in a current opportunity zone map, which were both driving factors in our decision to purchase the property in the first place. We visited the county building and planning departments here at this building several times before, during, and after our purchase. I believe you can look up my phone number to log those visits. We were advised to complete a pre-development meeting, which occurred in May of 2023, just weeks after our purchase. It was the soonest available date. This provided us a clear path with checklists and requirements provided by all county departments, including CAL FIRE, regarding the neglected overgrowth of the property that we acquired. Upon our acquisition, our property was rated as a high-severity fire zone, and our only option for insurance was the California FAIR Plan, which was quickly revoked after our purchase due to conditions on the drive-by inspections that followed. Upon closing escrow, we are inundated with declarations from our new neighbors of how property's neglected fire fuels were impacting their defensible space. I'd like to comment, we have 27 neighbors that touch our property, and we've heard from others beyond Meadow Glen, as well as the neighbors on Richardson and Sherwood Way as well. Our fire fuels and our property has impacted neighbors' insurance, They've received calls to county code enforcement and communications from surrounding HOAs who have expressed the need to clean up these matters. So we took this very seriously and ultimately hired a licensed, bonded, insured tree service company based here in Placer County to mitigate the fire fuels, which began working on the property January of 2024. They brought this neglected 10-acre property up to current standards within our first year of ownership, and the work was completed in February. Months later, within 1 year of our pre-development meeting, we successfully gathered all items requested by Placer County necessary to formally submit our complete application in May of 2024, including aerial topography, tree surveys, biological resource assessments, cultural reports, visits from the local tribes, all of which have been conducted on our property that meets the requirements of the development. We followed the process precisely to meet each county department's requirements. And while it's certainly taken longer than we expected, the county staff has been extraordinary every step of the way, and we're grateful for their kindness and professionalism to achieve this project and where we're at today. We're appreciative to have the opportunity to work with Placer County. It's an important milestone for us, and we ask the Parcel Review Committee to approve our tentative map today. Thank you on behalf of our entire family. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just ask one question real
Yes,
quick?
you may.
Have you been given a package of the staff report and the conditions of approval?
Yes.
Okay, great. No questions about the conditions?
No, we read them all and agree.
Great.
Completely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to now open it up to any folks in the room that wish to provide comment on this item. Please come to the podium and state your name for the record.
Push the green button.
I think it starts automatically, right?
Oh,
It's on,
okay.
yeah. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Mona Leberts, and I own a home on Meadow Glen Road directly across from the proposed Egeman development. Meadow Glen Road homeowners are not opposed to development on the site. However, we do have some concerns, and we would like proper oversight by the county. The proposed plan appears to bring all vehicle traffic on the 10-plus acre development directly by the front of homes on Meadow Glen Road. Proposed road appears to run parallel to Meadow Glen, which Mike has confirmed. In addition to the extra vehicle noise and light pollution from passing vehicles from the proposed 9 additional homes on the upper 3 parcels, I am concerned about the effect this will have on the value of our homes. It is my hope that the county will insist that the road be built toward the center of the development rather than being parallel to Meadow Glen Road. There are already 2 known driveways on Joga Road to access the parcels. It is my hope that the county will insist that the existing driveways be used to access the proposed development rather than allowing a new road that I believe is being proposed, which will greatly affect the safety of Meadow Glen Road residents when exiting Meadow Glen Road. Drivers use Joga Road as a back road route to Highway 80 and other parts of town, many traveling much faster than the speed limit. Safety and visibility exiting Meadow Glen Road is already an issue due to speeders, overhanging trees, the steep hill to the left, and the slope of the road to the right, which makes visibility a little bit difficult, so we don't need an extra driveway. I believe the proposed road will be installed along with power and water to each build site prior to the Egemans finding buyers for the 3 upper parcels. My concern is that this road to nowhere could potentially sit for years and years as an eyesore in our neighborhood. I have additional comments which I shared in my September 2nd, 2025 letter to Placer County Environmental Review regarding planned grading and culverts and how this will impact the flow of water onto my property, installation of a water line along our shared property line, and protection for the remaining protected oaks not already cut down on this historic property. Thank you for considering our concerns.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide comment on this item? Yeah, please come to the podium. State your name for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Tato Jones. Thank you for this opportunity to comment. I'm also a registered professional forester, and I live adjacent to the proposed project. I'm speaking on behalf of myself as well as the Meadow Glen Road Maintenance Agreement owners. I have already submitted extensive public comment on the project, and today I respectfully urge you to pause the approval of the project, require the applicants to seek mediation between Meadow Glen Road Maintenance Agreement owners and the lead planning staff, and primarily for the consideration of traffic impacts the new road will have, the road design as a whole, and the resulting parcels 2, 3, and 4 land use. I support private projects and development. However, as a licensed forester, I must object to the CEQA findings of this project and urge you to not adopt the mitigated negative declaration as is, due to numerous and substantial environmental impacts. The impact analysis was hastily done, leading to a land use plan that will continue to degrade environmental, economic, and historical conditions at the site. The impacts of the proposed road are significant. Regarding traffic and safety, the ingress and egress impacts at Jogar have not been adequately assessed. The proposed road will also have extensive hydrology impacts off-site and increase road surface density directly adjacent to existing road infrastructure that could be considered for use through mediation. Additionally, the project and the road specifically, will destroy upland habitat that was already significantly compromised by the preemptive tree removal project conducted last year. The environmental impacts are significant. The property underwent an extensive tree removal project in January, and I am told the lead planner has only recently become aware of the extent of this. The tree removal was conducted in the name of fire safety and development preparation, and nonetheless would have required a permit with the county under the tree protection ordinance plan. And I'll continue. I and other concerned neighbors issued code violation complaints based on that, the extent of the work being done, documented with case numbers assigned by county staff. Based on my rough and professional estimate, and I can give you the calculations on this, over 250 healthy trees were removed from the property. Having lived next door to this area and blue oak woodland habitat for more than 10 years, I can confidently say that these trees were of substantial size and vigor. And if I can continue and honor my neighbor's additional 3 minutes, I would like to continue if that's possible.
Are your neighbors here in the
Yes.
room? They can provide their own comment at the podium. So, yeah.
Okay, can you ask for me to speak on your behalf?
Yes, my name is Jeff Buck, and I'd like her to speak on our behalf of the Meadow Glen homeowners.
Okay. Okay.
You may have my 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. The fire condition concerns were primarily understory growth and fine fuels and grasses, not large protected blue oak species of substantial size and vigor. Under the Placer County Tree Protection Ordinance, a blue oakland woodland habitat is a protected environment, whether it is in the PCCP or not, and this project did not contain a timber harvest plan or a tree removal permit filed with the county. The ordinance should have applied, requiring this permit for the extent of the tree removal, and should now also apply to the findings of this application and the environmental analysis. To my understanding, there was no accountability in the staff report or the initial study of the MND regarding this preemptive work. Additionally, the trees that were removed were stump ground, and there were dozens of trees that were stump ground, and this took place just prior to the arborist report completed just the following spring of the project. The tree removal work had already negatively affected the environmental conditions throughout the undeveloped portion of the subject property and should be identified and contemplated in this review and the conditions of approval. We are requesting a pause on the project approval and the consent, and either a mediation with the project planner or a full review and consideration of the project application by the Planning Commission.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Okay, is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna, I do have some questions for staff on it. We did get, as you mentioned, some comment. I think the first question I'm gonna ask about is related to the tree removal. So if you can just talk a little bit about the removal that occurred and the tree, how it relates to standards in the tree ordinance and fire suppression and that kind of thing.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jacobson. As noted in staff's presentation, that there was tree removal that was conducted prior to submittal of the application in 2024. There were 2 code enforcement complaints received. Staff investigated these complaints and determined that the removal did not meet the threshold under the permitting requirements, including the amount of trees that were removed. I think it's also important to note that the California Environmental Quality Act is not a punitive guideline in that it does not seek to remedy potential issues that had occurred prior to submittal of the application, which, as I also noted, establishes the physical setting in review of CEQA. In other words, that is the baseline of which the environmental review is conducted. In relation to fire or vegetation removal, the tree ordinance also exempts from tree permit requirements removal of trees and brush on direction from CAL FIRE. And I think it's also important to note that the analysis contained within the mitigated negative declaration determined that the proposed project could mitigate effects to a less than significant level and did not identify any substantial environmental impacts.
Great, thank you. So, so on the code violations, both of the, I think you said there were a couple, 2 or 3?
There were 2. One was specific to tree removal, and the other was a hazardous vegetation violation. So a complaint received that the property had hazardous vegetation.
Okay, okay. And so those cases have been closed. There's no open code cases right now. Okay. And then I'm gonna stay with you for just a minute more. So some questions have come up in the comments today, and then also the letters that were received about wildlife impacts and such. And my understanding is from your report is that a biological assessment was prepared for the project. So in looking through the mitigated negative declaration, it looks like there are mitigation measures in place where there were impacts identified.
Correct.
Okay. And then there were also some questions about dust control, and I noticed the same there from the Air Pollution Control District. There was mitigation in there to address potential impacts related to that.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to move on. I think I have the remaining questions that I have are for engineering and surveying. So there's a lot of questions about. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the access. So it looks to me like the parcel, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not accessed off of the Meadow Gate or Meadow Glen Road, right?
That's correct. It's accessed directly from Joker Road.
Okay. So there wouldn't be, the folks that would be accessing these parcels would not be traveling along that road.
Correct.
Okay. And then really quick, did you, it looks like traffic was addressed in the mitigated negative declaration that was prepared, and it didn't trigger any thresholds in terms of VMT traveled or?
Correct. The project screens for VMT and no further analysis for circulation was required based on our transportation study guidelines have a threshold for trips generated that would trigger a traffic study. Typically, minor land divisions fall below that threshold, so no further study was required.
Okay, and so just for the record, VMT is vehicle miles traveled. So this project was minor in nature and didn't really trip any thresholds where there needed to be additional analysis
That's
because of the
correct.
minor nature of the project. Okay.
Yes.
And then what about the, just the access and the site distance? It is close. I mean, it looks like the access is, and I can't really see from here, but I'm not sure how, the distance between that and Meadow Glen Road, but can you just speak to the site distance concerns that were raised?
Yeah, so we looked at that early on. The existing parcel has two encroachments onto Joga Road, one near the middle of the parcel and one on the east. And the vertical profile of Joger is, it slopes down to the west and up to the east. And so they provided a site distance exhibit, which is one of the main things we look at for new road connections, which is basically when someone pulls out onto the public road looking to the east or the west, how far can they see oncoming vehicles? They provided a site distance exhibit for the existing middle encroachment, which could not achieve the standard for this parcel. And so the safest place for the new road would be as far west as possible without getting within 10 feet of the property line to the west. And so that's the reason that it's at that location.
Okay, and this might be a question for planning, but in that location too, it doesn't impact any issues related to setbacks to the existing structures, it looks like too, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then, okay, one more question for engineering and surveying on the drainage. There were some questions and issues raised about grading and drainage, and I did see that was addressed, it looks like, in the mitigated negative declaration as well. So do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, a preliminary drainage report was provided by Cranmer Engineering. There's two distinct drainage courses that flow to the west toward Meadow Glen Road. The proposed project maintains those drainage courses and at both the location and the intensity of the drainage. And the project's also conditioned to provide a final drainage report with the improvement plans, and that's going to monitor to make sure that it's consistent with what was evaluated with the MND to make sure that the drainage is consistent with the pre-existing conditions.
Okay, and then I also, just for the record, I did also see preparation of a mitigated monitoring reporting program. It looks like is an attachment to the mitigated negative declaration, so there would be monitoring of that mitigation.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. I think that is all. Looking here at my questions. I think that's all I have in terms of questions, so thank you for that. So just to kind of provide some thoughts on this, first of all, I just want to appreciate the public comment and folks coming out today on this item and for submitting comments on the record. It sounds like there were comments that were submitted as the project was going through the process on the environmental review, and so definitely appreciate those as well. And then I also wanted to say thank you for answering the questions and thank you. I was just provided one additional, I just want for the record, we do have public comment, and we got a last minute email that came in providing some comment. So I actually have not seen this one because it came in late. So I'm going to take a 5-minute pause just so I can read this and see if there's any other issues that are identified in this email that was just provided to me before I take any action on this. So I'm going to pause for 5 minutes. Thanks. Okay, folks, I think that was 5 minutes, so I'm ready to go. Just want to make sure everyone's in the room. I think we're okay, good to go? Okay, sorry about that. Sometimes that happens where you have last minute comments that come in, and if they're provided to me right like that, I feel like I need to read them. So thank you for the time. I did miss one thing, by the way. I just have to ask if there's any public comment at the Tahoe convenience location. Sometimes I forget when we're dealing with West County items that we also have a convenience location in Tahoe. So is there anybody in the Tahoe location that wishes to provide comment?
I see no hand raised for the Tahoe location.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to note that the comment letter that I just read, the issues identified in it, and it looks like staff has, I think, looked through it too, are consistent with the issues already addressed today and items that had come up in the previous comments and the comments that were provided here, the oral comments that were provided here today for the record. So again, I want to just say thank you to everyone here and thank you to staff for your work on this item. I did do a thorough review of the site, the circumstances on the site, the staff report, the CEQA analysis prepared, and have taken into consideration the comments. I feel like I did a thorough review of the comments and had questions that I wanted to ask for clarification. Based on that, I believe and feel confident that the CEQA analysis that was conducted on this project is sound. I did do a good thorough read of it. There is mitigation identified for or impacts identified and mitigation that is provided for those impacts. There is also a mitigation monitoring reporting program that has been prepared and it's included as an attachment. And so that provides a mechanism for reporting out and monitoring on the mitigation. And I believe that the mitigation that is included in that CEQA analysis addresses the concerns that we have heard here today related to traffic, grading, drainage, noise, wildlife, dust control. And in addition, tree protection. I know that there was another comment about not just the trees that had been previously taken out, but the remaining trees on site. There's mitigation in the document that relates to that as well, protection of those trees. I also believe that the minor land division as proposed is consistent with the general plan and the Auburn-Bowman community plan in terms of what was anticipated for the site. So the density of the site, this is a minor, what's considered a minor land division, and it meets the general plan standards, the Auburn-Bowman community plan standards, and the zoning standards. So it was anticipated in terms of the density. And the site, in my opinion, is physically suitable for the proposed development as well. So with that, I am going to take action here today to first determine that the mitigated negative declaration, State Clearinghouse number 202508018 is adequate to satisfy the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, and I'm going to adopt the mitigated negative declaration based upon the findings contained in the staff report and also approve the mitigation monitoring reporting program that's contained as an attachment to that mitigated negative declaration. And then I'm also going to take action to approve the minor land division to subdivide the property as outlined here today, so PLN 24-00157. And that would be based upon the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval listed as well in the staff report. So they're attached to that document. Because we did have folks comment here today, and we also had written comments received, there is a 10-day appeal period before my decision becomes final. If anyone disagrees with the decision here today, my decision will be set aside until such time that the appeal can be heard by the Placer County Planning Commission. So should an appeal be filed, it is subject to a filing fee of $774. So with that, that concludes my comments on this item, and we are going to move on to the next agenda item. So thank you all for coming out today. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the 1010 item. This is item number 3 on the agenda. It's the Levesque Garage Side Setback Variance. This is PLN 25-00009. And this one was continued originally from a July zoning administrator hearing and then again in September. And there has been public comment that has come in on this since, well, there's been public comment coming on this a lot at both hearings. But again, since the September hearing, we've gotten comment. And there's been recent public comment that has come in. And I know the applicant and their representative is here today. I have had a chance to read the comment that's come in. Just want to make sure the applicant has had a chance to look through that as well, and staff, okay. So I just wanted to make sure we had time to review that before we get started on this item. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to staff for just a report on the item, and starting with planning.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Staff requests the zoning administrator conduct a public hearing to consider the Levesque Garage Side Setback Variance, PLN 25-0009, and take the following actions. The first is to determine the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with Section 15303 and Section 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and Section 18.36.050, Class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures, and Section 18.36.070, Class 5, minor alterations and land use limitations. Staff also requests that the zoning administrator approve the Levesque Garage Variance PLN 25-0009, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. The subject property is located at 600 Canyon Drive in the unincorporated Auburn area. The subject property totals 1.9 acres and is zoned RSB 100, which means residential single family, combining minimum building site of 100,000 square feet. The site also has a general plan designation of rural low-density residential, 0.9 to 2.3 acre minimum. The applicant and property owner, Cynthia Levesque, is requesting the approval of a variance PLN 25-0009 to allow for the construction of an approximately 1,200 square foot detached garage to be located 18 feet from the street side setback from the edge of the road easement along the eastern property line, where a 30-foot side setback is normally required, and a 35-foot setback from the center line of an intermittent stream that runs along the western property line, where a 50-foot setback is normally required. Previous request from the property owner was to allow the building to be 8 feet from the center line of the stream. The property owner has subsequently revised that request. It should be noted that there have been 3 previous hearings for this item, including one on July 10th that was continued, August 14th that was continued, and September 18th continued to today. The subject parcel is long and narrow, with an approximately 60% of the parcel on the south side being heavily vegetated and exhibiting steep slopes with elevations ranging from 1,220 feet to 1,120 feet above sea level. The remaining 40% of the parcel on the northern portion is developed with a driveway granting access to the parcel from Canyon Drive on the northern boundary line, and an approximately 1,700 square foot single family home with a 540 square foot detached recreation room. The proposed project is located north of the existing single family home and will be accessed via a gravel road leading from the driveway south towards the residence. A tree is planned to be removed to make way for the proposed garage structure, and the tree removal would be subject to a tree permit. Staff received 8 comment letters, 7 in opposition and 1 in support to that was received prior to today's hearing. The comment letters raise concerns regarding the location of the structure, the use of the proposed building, the location of concrete flatwork, conduct of the property owner, impacts to the intermittent stream, and allegations that the planner and other county staff have been dishonest and misleading. Aside from the comments regarding county staff, concerns raised by neighboring property owners have been discussed at the previous hearings held for the project, as well as addressed in the staff report. Staff has also met with neighbors to hear the concerns. I would like to take a moment, though, to address the allegations against staff. Staff has remained neutral and transparent throughout the application review and hearing processes, and has been conducted consistent with application processing procedures. All concerns have been openly discussed in the staff report at previous hearings, as well as in meetings with neighboring property owners. This item was originally heard at the August 14th zoning administrator hearing, continued from the July 10th hearing due to a noticing error. And at the August 14th hearing, the zoning administrator tentatively denied the item and continued it to the September 18th meeting, giving staff the direction to draft the findings for a denial for the project. At that September 18th zoning administrator hearing, the applicant requested to revise their project to locate the proposed structure 35 feet from the stream's ordinary high water mark, that should be the center line, instead of the 8 feet originally requested. The zoning administrator allowed the applicant to revise the project and gave staff the direction to review the revised project and continue the item to today's hearing on October 23rd. In reviewing the materials presented in the revised variance application, the physical attributes of the project site, including the shape and topography of the parcel and the limited building space, staff has determined that the findings required to grant a variance can be made and supports the requested setback variance. Based on the analysis contained in this report, staff recommends that the zoning administrator take the following actions. The first is to determine that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with Section 15303 and Section 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and Section 18.36.050, Class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures, and Section 18.36070, Class 5, minor alterations and land use limitations. There is no exception to this finding. The second action is to approve PLN 25-0009, the Lebec garage side setback variance, subject to the conditions of approval based on the findings contained within the staff report. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one question, just to clarify. It doesn't look like it when I was there and looking at the site plan. The existing structure does not contain a garage. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks for that. I'm going to move on to environmental health.
Environmental Health has no comments on this project.
Thank you. And engineering and surveying. Anything to add?
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Engineering and surveying supports staff's recommendations with the conditions listed in the staff report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions at this time. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. It's a public hearing, and I'm going to first start with the applicant's representative.
Those, including those that were just submitted this morning, so I would ask for a couple more minutes than I would typically have.
Of course. Yep.
Good morning. My name is Marcus Loduca, 1508 Eureka Road, on behalf of the applicant. On her behalf, I'm pleased to be before you with your staff's recommendation for approval of her revised variance request, again, as was set forth in that September 11th letter to you, and then subsequently brought up at the September 18th meeting, and then subsequently reviewed by staff. As Callie just reviewed, and the staff report thoroughly explains, the findings for the variance from the roadway easement on the eastern property line, and then the setback variance from the center line of the intermittent street and the western property line can readily be made. Just to summarize, again, that revised variance request has placed the proposed garage in the really only other location that you can place on the property, given as staff has highlighted the location of the property's existing development, the house, the recreation room, the driveway, and the sewer disposal area, the shape of the parcel, its topography, those existing utility and road easements along the eastern property line, and of course the intermittent stream and roadway setback on the western property line. So what's before you, that revised site plan and the application, is placing the garage in the only place, that one spot, and again, it's to the north of the existing house. It's far away from the intermittent stream as is possible on the site. Again, the requested variance is now 15 feet from the center line, or setback standard for the center line of the creek, as opposed to 8 feet, what it was before. So it was a 42 feet request that came to you in August. It is now, 4.5 times what it was at that initial application hearing, and there's no longer a setback variance needed from the roadway because now the garage is set back 44 feet, whereas 30 feet is required. There is now the requirement to have a setback variance from the roadway easement on the eastern property line, and again, that's in a location, placing it as far away from the intermittent stream as possible gets us to the point where we do need that variance, but it's at the literally minimum deviation that would be required to still provide the maximum distance from the intermittent stream. Typically, I would not review in detail comments that have come in, but given, and you may hear more of those today, but given that they contain a number of claims and allegations against my client, I do feel it's important to address those. All these allegations are either untrue or simply not relevant to the matter before you. On the issue of when the concrete slab on the western side of the property was built, you've received correspondence Tuesday from Chris Graham, apparently a former senior planner here at Placer County, along with a photograph from 2013 that conclusively shows that the concrete slab was in existence at least as far back as 2013. It actually was there long before that date. My client's lived on the property since 1982. Her father built the slab. So it was typically has been covered by blackberries and a lot of brush, and so people didn't see it, but it's been there that period of time. So again, that evidence, that photo is conclusive that it has been there for a long period of time. With regard to the work on the property during the pendency of the matter, Ms. Levesque, like any property owner, has the right to remove vegetation on her property, including removing fallen trees to reduce fire load, as she has done. That work was not done on the creek bank. There was reference to 3 large trees that were removed. Those were removed by PG&E as part of their fire load reduction work that has taken place throughout the state. Additional trees removed by Ms. Levesque were either dead or they were had been broken, and she also removed a lot of non-native brush as well as blackberry bushes. In fact, she even got a complaint from one neighbor that she had too much she had too much fire load on her property. She then removed it, and that neighbor subsequently claimed that she acted illegally in removing that, when in fact that needs to be removed. One thing that is important to realize is this is a FireWise community, which designation gives homeowners a discount on their home insurance. And again, the removal of non-native brush, removal of dead trees, removal of tree limbs and those kind of things is part of that ability to meet those FireWise standards that benefits everyone in the area. As for her fence, any property owner in the Placer County has the right to fence the property. She did so only partially, stopping until the conclusion of this process. She had placed signs and cameras on the property on the advice of both the sheriff's office and her home insurance company in response to vandalism that had occurred on her property. So they advised her to do so. As for the removable board bridge across the creek, the game warden for the area did review that. He didn't have any issues with it. Again, it's removable, but that board bridge allows her to walk across the creek rather than through it. My client is only seeking the same privilege that other properties in compatible zone classifications in the area receive. We believe, as the staff report reviews, the findings for the variances can readily be made given the evidence before you. I would ask that you approve today staff's recommendation to approve the variances before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
I would reserve the right to come back to address any comments made during the public hearing.
Okay, I do have one question.
Sure.
I reviewed I reviewed all the correspondence, but the recent correspondence that came in, and one new item that I saw had to do with the commercial use of the garage structure. So I just want to ask Is there intention for commercial use of the garage? And just kind of restate what the purpose is.
Well, they're going to be putting cars in the garage. Again, the garage keeps being talked about at 1,200 feet. It's 825 feet, and the rest is a carport, and it steps down. So you've heard that it's a 16-foot structure. It's an 825-foot structure with a carport. They're going to put their cars in. They may use it as an exercise area. They may store the applicant's partner has his own business. He will have his supplies for his business there. But again, this is not a commercial operation.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so this is a public hearing, so I might have questions for staff a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up to members of the public to provide comment, and then I can address any questions that I might have. So with that, come on up to the podium and please state your name for the record.
Thank you. My name is Tom Fasciana. I've lived on Canyon Drive. That is on the western side of that creek, within a few feet of the creek, since 1988. I've lived in Auburn since the early 80s. Much of what the lawyer just stated might be true, but there's one lie involved in that. We saw that forming of that concrete slab that's now existing on the eastern side of the creek formed and poured. We watched it. It happened last year, or a little before that. It was about a year ago, I believe. And we saw it. We wondered what was going on. That is a monster slab. It's this thick. It's right on the eastern precipice of the bank of that creek. When that water gets up high enough and flows, it's going to force it to the west on our road on Canyon Drive. That slab is in a lousy place. I don't know why the county would allow it, or the land trust, or whoever cares about that creek would not complain about the position of that existing slab being right on the precipice of that creek, which that slab has a lot of weight, and as that water rises, that soil on that side of the creek is vulnerable because the root systems are gone for whatever reason. They are gone. And that is not being held. We've already had the water from the massive rains we had early in October, the first week or two of October, come over the creek, over the road, over Canyon Drive. From those rains. Those are the kinds of rains we're in for in the future. And we have to be concerned about that because that's our 10 houses have ingress and egress up that road. We are in the city. The city does not maintain that road. It doesn't seem to want to work on it. Neither does the land trust who owns it now, and neither does the county. Nobody maintains that road. We have to worry about that road, its condition, and the condition of the creek now that has the possibility of this slab on the one side acting as a dam right above the eastern side of that creek. We're acting as a dam to force the water to the west on our side of the road. That's my comment. I thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide public comment on this item? Great. Please state your name for the record.
Morning. Thank you.
Good
Eric
morning.
Peach, representing Protect American River Canyons. We did submit a letter back in August, I think it was, regarding this project. And our concerns are with the delicate balance that the nature has in these ephemeral and perennial streams. They are nature's nursery. This is where the web of life starts. And to allow these setbacks are in place for a reason, to protect the streams from encroachment, development, pollution, and things like that. And I've been down to see the slab and see what's going on there. And it is clearly in violation with good sense, with any protections that we might want to have for our streams. And this stream in particular is very important because it's Canyon Creek. Canyon Creek goes down into a confluence with the North Fork of the American River, And it creates a waterfall called Calcutta Falls, which is one of the most visited areas of the confluence because of this beautiful waterfall here. And so we are concerned about the pollution. Even if the variance is allowed, the slab is still there, people can park there. You're not going to go down and enforce anything after the variance is allowed. And, it's quite possible, given the potential commercial use of this area, that toxics could be there, or even fertilizers or things like that that could adversely affect the health of the stream. So our comments are based primarily on the health of the ecosystem, Canyon Creek ecosystem, and the North Fork of the American River ecosystems. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, is there anyone else in the room? Yeah, come on up and to the podium and state your name for the record, please. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for hearing us again. The stream overflowed pretty good on the last big storm we had. It rose up and came up over the road. So we're all kind of wondering if she does this and she floods out our road, as my husband said, who's going to pay for it? How's that going to happen? Because we're told it's not a county road. It's not a city road. It's just us. That's number one. And number two, as they've stated, we are very vulnerable to fire. And her putting up that fence was just flippin' ridiculous. She prevents firefighters or anybody from coming near the fence to get the water to put the fire out. And we're told that our California Fair Plan, which we all have in that neighborhood, is probably going to double or close to it in February. This is big concerns. We've seen toxics in the water. It's swailing with like oil type stuff in the pools. The pools are pretty good sized, and it's just swailing with that. Not all the time, but frequently. Frequently we hear the sounds of her boyfriend's equipment going. Once he just left his weed eater just on. Just left it, walked away. It was on for like an hour. It's a quiet neighborhood, and we're all offended by the noise. So he's going to be working on his stuff in that garage. You better believe it. If nothing else, if you can't find a no in your heart for us, then please extend it so we can have further chance of showing you what is it that you need. What is it that we need to do to prove to you that there's a lot of people who are not happy with this, and one person who is. We've not been dishonest, as he said. We're just people who live there, and we want to take care of our neighborhood, and the fence is a fire hazard. So, and the cameras are offensive to everyone. If she wants cameras, she should put them on her own property, not beside the street. She's filming people walking up and down the street. You can't even have a conversation. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide comment on this item? Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Yeah, hi, my name is Andrew Wold. I'm a neighbor on Canyon Drive. I'd first like to, if you don't mind me coming up to the bench.
Sure.
So when her lawyer was speaking, he said that concrete slab has been there for 40 years. This is a Google Earth image dated August 30th, 2024. There's clearly no concrete slab there. And fortunately, this was taken in August because it was September of 2024.
I, along with other neighbors, witnessed it for.
Okay, why don't you go back to the podium so we
And I know
can,
that she had brought that up in previous meetings, and I know that you had refuted those in previous meetings. So for them to double, now triple down on this lie, what does that say? I mean, it's clearly not there. We watched that concrete slab get poured. And that's why one of the conditions that we wanted, that I asked for in my letter, was that if, my hope is that you do not accept this variance, but at the very least condition that that illegally poured foundation, unpermitted, that must be removed. Because that is the catalyst to the waterway, to Canyon Creek, to everything that 20 plus people, now looking like 30 plus people, have all come in and said the same thing. We're worried about the health of that creek. And that is a runway to which I and other neighbors have already witnessed runoff from their property getting into the creek. I've witnessed creek changes. I have pictures that I attached to my letter, if you saw them, of what the creek looks like now, especially where they put that walking bridge. It's a whole new ecosystem in there. And I would like to reiterate too, that on her original application, dated and signed January of 2025, that she agreed to not alter the physical condition of the property during the processing of the application, such as, but not limited to, removing trees. That's clearly been proven that she has removed trees, which I agree. People can remove trees on their own property unless they sign a document saying that they won't. If they sign a legal document saying that they will not cut down trees, then no, they can't cut down trees. As well as, even with a permit, which they didn't have a permit, which maybe they don't need for the tree cutting, they went on to Placer Land Trust property and cut their trees down. She didn't limit herself to her property, she cut their trees down. Then the application says, not altering, or such as removing trees, constructing structures. Both a fence is a structure, bridges are structures. Both of those have been constructed during the process, during this application process. Altering streams is another one. That is something that we've witnessed as well by making room to put the footings for the bridge, for the fence posts, to dig into the creek, to refill the creek, and pour the concrete that, as you can see, and I can show you, I have printed out pictures too if you'd like to see them in clear definition, of concrete spilling into the creek. So my ask is that you deny this variance and at the very least condition it so that that concrete slab or concrete foundation needs to be removed.
thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Would you like those pictures or have you seen them?
I have, if you've submitted it already, I have it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Good morning.
Please state your name for the
My
record.
name's Mike Mead. I live on Canyon Drive. Let me begin. I'm going to reiterate. I know I told you this once before. I watched that foundation be poured. I watched it framed, formed, and poured. So, yeah, it's not true what was said here today. What counsel said is words of counsel. He doesn't live there. He isn't a witness to anything. I am a witness. I saw that thing poured. Had she done what she's here to do today, which is obtain a variance to get a permit to pour a foundation 35 feet away from the creek, I would expect that it would be granted. And I would expect we wouldn't be here today. But instead, she claimed that this was a pre-existing slab. She convinced Martin Romero that it pre-existed. It didn't. And we've been fighting this for 8 months now. And if the ultimate outcome is that the entire watercourse setback is now going to be filled with 2 25-foot wide slabs of concrete, then we've just concrete over the whole watercourse setback. It's not legal. It's not permitted by code. So, from your comments last time, I assume today that probably her request for variance, the new request for variance, would be granted. And I focused, and when I wrote you, on all the reasons that she should be required. It should be conditioned upon her removing that what was an illegal foundation, which she intentionally poured without seeking a permit, Otherwise, how are we going to protect the creek? 50 feet of concrete right up to the edge of the creek? So I'm only hoping that the right thing will happen here today and that we won't be stuck with this situation. As far as, if you'd lived on the street for the last 8 months, you would know viscerally the amount of conflict and tension and hostility that's gone on since we made our first complaint about this not being legal. It's been steady to the point of even one resident being accosted and released to the point that she had to be escorted to her car and make a police report. So the fence isn't innocent. The no trespassing, that's not innocent. The cameras aren't innocent. This used to be a quiet little street. And now we've devolved to this position. So please, if you're going to give her this variance, make her take responsibility for what she's done and done to our neighborhood. Make her remove that slab. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide comment? Please state your name for the record.
Yes, good morning. My name is Antoinette Fabella. Thank you for allowing me to comment today. I was going to comment, but however, fellow neighbors have already made several comments with regards to the slab. And nevertheless, we have it in writing. We have her signed a signature, January 13, 2025. She agreed to all the things that she's violated. Okay, and that's altering the canyon, the creek. The other thing that I want to touch on is the survey. The survey, she opted to do the survey. The survey still hasn't been done. Public Land Trust wrote a letter that she needs to do the survey and that the variance should not be approved without the survey because there's still no verification of boundaries. This still needs to be done, is my opinion. Because who knows if the fence that she built is on their property? Who knows if everything that she has done has been on their property? Nobody knows. And then also to bring to attention that even though the additional 35-foot setback, in reading all the codes that I read for Placer County, it still doesn't meet the minimum of 50 feet. I mean, you're only adding 15 feet. And this is per 17.54.145 code. The other thing is about the analysis. So September report said that special privilege and health and safety of the community would be impacted versus now this report for October says otherwise, that it won't. I mean, there's nothing that's been changed to make that statement. So here we are. As a matter of fact, this 1.9 acre property would, in fact, with a 1,200-foot garage that's larger than whatever is in the neighborhood or even the vicinity of the neighborhood, and that has a stream flowing through it, there's no such a structure. So, what, in fact, she would be given special privilege. And it would be taking away, to approve this, sends a really disturbing message that violations of your codes, Placer County codes, and rules and regulations are condoned, that the special privileges to the applicant shuns, disrespects nearly 80% of the neighboring community who have presented their valid concerns, and it takes away from them their privileges, and it affects their public health and safety. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. It looks like we had somebody else that wanted to speak on this item. Please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Heston. I reside at 620 Canyon Drive. I'm Cindy's next door neighbor. there's so many things I could speak on, but the main thing that I want to mention is the slab. I've seen the slab ever since I moved there in 2020 when I purchased the property. It was there, and it was supported. It was improved. It was cracking, and she repaired it. So that is what everybody witnessed. And the tone of the neighborhood is definitely very different. And she lives in Placer County, and every other commenter thus far as I'm aware, lives in Auburn City. That road is the border, and so the way of life is different in a subdivision versus a 1.9 acre parcel. On my side, I see the same, I live the same kind of a lifestyle where we have equipment, you know, we cut our own wood, we are on a third of an acre, and it's a rural lifestyle, and she has equipment, you know, to function on her land and needs to have some place to store it. And I think it's nothing that anybody else in the vicinity and under similar zone classifications wouldn't be allowed. I respectfully request that you allow the variance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, no, you already provided public comment, so right now I'm going to open it up to anyone else that has not provided comment that wishes to.
Hi,
Good
Brandy
morning.
Waters with Placer Land Trust. As you probably know, we own land next to the applicant. We don't own a home. However, I do want to second Andrew Woold's argument. His completely valid statements, and his deep research has shown exactly what this applicant has done. And this is not a personal attack, as was insinuated by applicant's attorney last month. We believe that there is a need for clearly stated rule of law, which the county has, a need to follow that to create stability and consistency by its citizens, and a full necessity to hold said citizens accountable when they fail to adhere to the rule of law, which has been the case. We please ask that you do hold that as a condition that that foundation that is in clear violation be removed. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else in the room that has not provided comment that wishes to provide comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, we have a Tahoe convenience location. Is there anyone in Tahoe that wishes to provide comment?
I see no hands raised, but Ms. Jacobs, could we please take a 5-minute break for the clerks?
Yes, we're going to take a 5-minute break, folks. Thanks. Okay, folks, I'm gonna, I think 5 minutes have passed or so, so I'm gonna ask for folks to, yeah, hopefully nobody left that is looking to come back in. But I'm gonna go ahead and open this back up. So I've closed the public hearing. I don't think we had anybody in Tahoe that wished to provide comment. Okay. And I am going to provide an opportunity for the applicants. I do have questions for staff. So I think I might do that. It's up to you. You could either provide comment now or you could wait. Okay. So I have a number of questions so again, real quick, I know people are trailing back in. I've opened this back up. The public comment period is closed. I'm going to ask some questions of staff, and I am going to give the applicant's representative an opportunity to provide some comment or closing remarks as well. But first, I do have some questions. I'm actually going to start with, I see our code compliance staff is here, and so I was hoping you guys can come up to the record. I know you've been involved. There's been a number, I think, of complaints lodged against this site, and so just wanted to have you speak to those. So real quick, first the slab.
Yes.
So my understanding is, my initial sort of action on this to take tentative action to deny, one of my findings was that it appeared that the slab had been poured in preparation of a structure. But I want to speak to the slab itself. If now they're proposing to put the structure, clear outside of that area, my understanding is that the pouring of a slab in its location would not require, it does not trigger the need in and of itself for a building permit. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is that one of the items that came up that you had responded to?
Correct. We spoke with Planning Services Division and with our building department. We've gone out there, taken measurements. It doesn't meet any requirements as a structure and definitely not a foundation at this point because there's no structure on it. It wouldn't even be considered a deck at this point. It's just flat work.
And so flat work is allowed in the setback?
Correct.
Per county code. So there was not a violation?
There would be.
The slab itself does not trigger a violation?
That would be correct.
Okay. And then there's comments about the vegetation removal. It sounds like you responded to that too, and that was PG&E doing some work.
Yeah, I believe one of our other officers responded, but I did go out to the property. I have seen it and spoke with Planning Services Division as well. Removal of the vegetation around the creek is allowed.
Okay, and then can you also speak to the fence? And if you can't speak, I might go to planning stuff on the fence, but there's construction of a fence.
Yeah, planning staff might have more specifics on that, but we spoke with them about the fence as well, went out and took a look at it, and based on what they stated, and I believe Fish and Wildlife, they also stated that it was not harming the creek and that it would be allowed.
Okay, and then, so I might come back to that item, but then one more thing. I just want to, one of the comments that I think it was in multiple places, the comment about your team not following up with the folks that complained, the people that lodged complaints. Mm-hmm. I just want to ask about that because that is, I do, if I were to complain on a neighbor, I'd probably want a little follow-up. So I just want to make sure, what is your process and did you follow up with neighbors?
Yes, we've spoken with them actually at the front counter several times. I have not been the officer that was assigned to the case, but I have actually spoken with several of the neighbors up front, I believe at the last hearing that was rescheduled or the one before that. And then I spoke with them at the front counter before, explaining these same issues that the flat work would not be a violation. We don't normally update our reporting parties for every case when it closes out, but on a case like this, we have been in contact with them when the case was closed out several months ago.
So it is the standard practice to try to follow up with the complaining party?
It depends. It depends on the severity of the case. In a case like this, we've spoken with them in person. We did not call them, I don't believe, after the case was closed out. But since it's been closed out, we've spoken with them several times in person about the status of the case.
Okay. Okay. And just really quick, I don't know if you stated your name for the record. Can
Nolan
you do
Wright.
it? Okay. Great. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead and take a seat.
Thank you.
I appreciate your comment or your answers. Okay, I had some other questions. So I'm going to go to planning and just ask about the fence. If you can kind of speak to the comments raised about the fence?
Yes, the fence is not a structure. Fencing can be within setbacks. This fence does not require a building permit, nor does it require setbacks from stream systems. Game warden from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife did conduct a site visit and determined that a lake and stream bed alteration permit would not be required. Planning has no concerns with the location of the fence.
Okay. Okay, and then I have a question for engineering, really quick on drainage. There was some concerns about, flooding and that sort of thing of the creek and roadway impacts. But in, what we're looking at right now is the current proposal, 35 feet away from the creek. When it was close to the creek, I had concerns. I took tentative action to deny that. It is outside of the creek, and so we are considering what is proposed before us today, which is different than 8 foot from center line of the creek. So based on that, I would like to hear from you about any concerns about that structure in its place and drainage.
Yes, so the newly proposed location is not within the local floodplain that was mapped with the hydrologic study commissioned by the applicant. The existing slab was not found to be in the floodplain either. It was found to be above the 100-year floodplain limits, or elevation. So the new location does not concern us in regards to drainage or flooding.
Okay, thank you for those comments. And then I'm going to turn to County Council. Did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yes, I did just have a couple comments to make. The first one, I know several of the commenters mentioned the language in the application and specifically alterations to land and the denial of the request. I just wanted to point out that the language in the application is permissive in whether or not denial of a request can be made if alterations are made to the land. So it's a factor that can be considered in the analysis. It doesn't mandate denial of an application. And then also, as it relates to the concrete slab, I know several of the commenters also asked for a condition to be imposed regarding its removal if this request is granted. And I did just want to mention that as far as conditioning this variance as proposed today on the removal of the slab, that can only be done if the slab is related to the request. Otherwise, a procedure regarding, a non-code compliant item on property would be handled through code enforcement.
Understood. Okay. Okay, thank you for that. So with that, there's been a lot of comment and concern on this. I wanted to mention, when I took a little break, we did get an additional comment that came in. Again, this happens. This one is actually a comment in support of the variance, and it also is a second commenter that states that the slab was in place as far back as 2013, but that what was done recently was some work to that slab, so some improvements to a cracking slab. So it was a similar comment to what we heard from one of the neighbors here today. So I want to first, again, thank everyone who has come out and provided comment on this item. It's been clearly, of concern to community members for the creek. And I think we have setbacks in place for, creeks and streams and ponds and lakes and things like that for a reason, because they are a resource. So I really do appreciate the comments that have come in about, the setback, the slab, the proximity and the drainage pattern of the proximity of the slab and the drainage to of the creek to the river. But again, I want to say, and that's why I was asking about the slab. The slab in and of itself is not a code violation. So we have done our work there to check to see if that was a violation. It is outside of the floodplain, and so is what is before us today, which is the garage, which is pulled back from that creek, is outside of the floodplain. So I do appreciate the concerns about the creek, and I share concerns about, not concerns for this, but just in general. The reason we have setbacks to creeks is because we want to protect that resource and the health of the creek. So I appreciate those comments, and that is, the reason that I had intentionally wanted to tentatively deny this, because I thought it was too close. It is now being pulled back. It is 15 feet reduction from what is required per the code. So I do believe that the applicant has heard the concerns and is really, looking for an alternative to address not just the concerns from the public, but also the concerns from myself. And so while I appreciate all the comment and people coming out and the written correspondence and the concerns, I also appreciate that the structure is being pulled away from the creek, because I think that is important. And I do believe, I asked a question earlier today of staff, does the site have a garage? It does not. It's not uncommon for people to come in and want to put a garage on their property. In this case, the site's constrained. As I mentioned in my first hearing, while I felt like there were special circumstances on the property, when it was 8 foot from center line of the creek, I didn't feel like that was the minimum departure of the ordinance, and it wasn't protecting the creek. It is now pulled further away, and I really do believe that it is a minimum departure. It is 15 feet, a 15 feet difference from what is required by the Placer County code. So they have pulled it away in a position where I feel like it does meet that finding, and the special circumstances do exist, in my opinion, on this site, and as outlined by staff and in the staff report. So because of that, one other thing I do want to mention, the comment about the commercial use, that kind of came up as it related to people concerned about noise and that kind of thing. And I appreciate that comment. And it sounds like they don't intend to use it for commercial use. But there is, I am inclined to approve this variance. In doing that, I'm considering an additional condition. So what I'm going to do right now, I am going to take action. First, I'm going to determine that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with Section 15303 and Section 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and Section 18.36.050, which is Class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures, and Section 18.36.070, Class 5, minor alterations and land use limitations. I'm also going to take action to approve the variance to allow for the construction of the detached garage to be located 18 feet from the side street setback from the edge of the road easement along the eastern property line, where 30 feet is required. So again, that's a 15 feet deviation. And then also a 35 foot, and 35 feet from center line of the intermittent stream, where 50 feet is normally required. This action today is based upon the findings that I have outlined here today, and the findings listed in the staff report, as well as public testimony that I have received at all of the hearings that we've had on this item. And it is subject to the conditions of approval in the staff report, and I would like to actually I'm going to add a condition about commercial use. And I'm going, that condition is going to state, and I don't know which condition number it is, if we want to number that. But do you have something to say?
If you would like to add it as condition number 11.
Okay, I'm going to add a condition number 11 to the staff report, that the proposed detached garage shall not be used for commercial uses unless otherwise authorized or permitted to do so by the county. So if there was an intention to use that structure for commercial use, the applicant would have to come back in and seek authorization to do so. I want to point out a couple of things. So that's my action today. I'm approving it. I'm adding that condition. I do want to point out a couple things. If it's used for commercial uses in the future, There is a process, you go through code enforcement on that, and so that you could do that. In addition, there was some concerns today about noise. We do have a noise ordinance here in Placer County that, restricts certain noises, certain hours and that kind of thing. And so I urge folks to take a look at that as well. And if there's concerns about noise, that is an avenue to seek, for staff to address any issues related to noise. So because we did have a lot of comment on this, there is an appeal period, a 10-day appeal period before my decision becomes final. So if anyone in the audience or anyone that has provided public comment on this, if you've provided comment in the past and it's in the record in writing, or you provided testimony, you do have the right to appeal. So if you disagree with my decision or you feel that you have been adversely affected, you can file an appeal of my decision, and my decision will be set aside until such time that an appeal can be heard by the Planning Commission. Should an appeal be filed, it is subject to a filing fee of $774. So that concludes this item on today's agenda. And again, I thank you all for being here, providing comment. Okay, I'm going to get to the next item on the agenda in just a second. I need to kind of gather my materials here. Okay, we are moving on now to item number 4 on the agenda. This is the 10:15 item, and I apologize for the delay, folks. We are way behind. We've had a full agenda today. So this is item number 4. It's the Verizon Phillip Road minor use permit, PLN 25-00261. I did want to point out we did get one comment written comment that came in on this, and so I think staff is going to address that. But at this point, I'm going to turn to staff for a report on this item.
Good morning, or maybe afternoon now. Administrator Jacobson. My name is David Oriuros, Senior Planner with Planning Services, here to present the Verizon Phillip Road minor use permit. This request is for approval of a minor use permit to allow the addition of 9 antennas, 6 radios, 4 surge suppressors, and 4 hybrid cables on a 20-foot extension to an existing 78-foot 8-inch lattice telecommunications tower. To provide some regulatory context, minor use permits are required for wireless facilities that do not meet the criteria for being considered non-obtrusive visually. In this case, the project qualifies as a co-location on the existing tower, but because it includes a 20-foot height increase, it does not meet the non-obtrusive standard under Placer County Code Section 1756060F. Therefore, the minor use permit is required. So some site information. The project site is located within the farm combining minimum building site of 80 acres zoning district. The surrounding area is largely vacant. Farmland to the north, south, east, and to the west is the Reason Farms Environmental Preserve within the city of Roseville. One public comment was received requesting information on the creation of the subject parcel and prior land use entitlements and floodplain information. The parcel is zoned for a minimum of 80 acres. However, it predates the current zoning, with its creation occurring prior to 1968, and is therefore considered a legal non-conforming parcel. Records also indicate that the existing tower and adjacent building were constructed between 1958 and 1964, and that the existing tower originally functioned as an air traffic control communications tower. In 2004, an administrative approval was granted for the placement of 12 antennas at the top of the existing tower. Because this approval did not increase the height of the structure, it met the criteria for being considered not visually obtrusive under the county wireless communications standards. Therefore, a minor use permit was not required at that time. Staff also notes that the existing tower is located within the floodplain However, the proposed project does not increase the area of development within the floodplain. Further existing equipment, the existing equipment building located adjacent to the tower is situated outside of the floodplain. I would note that Will Alexander of ESD will be reading in an additional condition to clarify on this issue later on in the presentation. So staff has reviewed the project against the General Development Standards for Wireless Facilities under Section 1756-060C of the Placer County Code, including requirements related to minimum lot area, setbacks, advertising restrictions, and proximity to septic systems. The project is consistent with all applicable standards. In addition, condition of approval number 3 requires improvement of the existing substandard access road to provide a minimum 20-foot wide all-weather surface driveway with 1-foot shoulders capable of supporting emergency vehicles. The condition not only ensures safe access for maintenance and fire response, but also represents a notable improvement in the existing site conditions. Staff has also reviewed the required findings for the granting of a minor use permit under Section 1758-140 and determined that all findings can be made. For environmental review, the project can be found categorically exempt from environmental review under Section 15303 of the CEQA guidelines and Placer County Code Section 1836050, as the proposal represents a minor modification to an existing facility. Based on this analysis, staff recommends that the zoning administrator determine the project is categorically exempt from environmental review under Section 15303 and Placer County Code Section 1836050, and approve the minor use permit to allow the addition of 9 antennas, 6 radios, 4 surge suppressors, and 4 hybrid cables on a 20-foot high extension to the existing lattice structure, subject to the recommended conditions of approval and required findings. I would also note here that we are joined this morning by Jasmine Leary of Epic Wireless, representing the applicant Verizon Wireless. And with that, I will also turn things over to Will Alexander of Engineering and Surveys to read in that additional condition of approval related to the floodplain.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to just go straight to engineering and surveying on this.
Thank you, David. And as David stated, none of the proposed improvements are it's our opinion they will not affect the floodplain in any way. They're outside of the floodplain. But just to ensure compliance with our ordinances, I'll read in the following condition. This parcel is affected by FEMA Flood Zone AE and will require review by the floodplain administrator for compliance with the County of Placer Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance prior to building permit issuance.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't think I have any questions. I read the comment that came in. It seems like it's a request for records, like which I think if staff can just reach out to this person and direct them to the Public Records Act.
Absolutely, happy to do that.
They basically are asking for records on the property, which we do have a process for that. So I would just urge you to do that. And maybe the person's here too, so we can talk to them if they're in the room. But so what I'm going to do now, this is a public hearing. I'm going to open it up for the applicant owner. It sounds like the representative is here. Wish to come to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Hi, Jasmine Leary, applicant on behalf of Verizon Wireless. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to hear our item today and for staff for reviewing our project. I'd just like to add, this is a co-location on an existing tower. The extension does allow for better coverage, especially in this growing area of West Roseville. And if I myself am here for any questions, I also have my director, if there are any other comments or questions you have for us.
Okay, thank you. Real quick, just to ask, you've seen the conditions of approval?
Correct, and just heard
and the one read
addition.
And you're comfortable?
Yes, we understand the conditions.
Okay, I'll have you take a seat.
Right,
and then again, thank you very much. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to see if there's anyone in the room that wishes to provide public comment on this item. Okay, seeing none. Anyone in the Tahoe location that wishes to provide comment?
I see no hands raised for the Tahoe location.
Okay, thank you. So with that, again, I just want to point out we did get that one public comment. It appears that they're just looking for records, so I am going to have staff reach out and send these folks to the right direction on that.
Will do.
And then I am going to take action first to determine that this project, PLN 25-00261, the Verizon Philip minor use permit, is categorically exempt from the environmental review in accordance with Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act and Placer County Code Section 18.36.050. And then I'm going to take action to approve the minor use permit to allow the addition of an extension, a 20-foot high extension on the existing lattice structure in accordance with Placer County Code Section 17.58.120. That approval is based upon the findings contained in staff's report and based upon the conditions also contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions in the staff report and subject to the new condition that was read into the record, which I'll let you figure out what number that condition, where that condition will land. But again, the action today is subject to the conditions in the staff report and the condition read into the record today. Because we did get one public comment letter, I cannot waive the appeal period. So there is a 10-day appeal period before this decision is final. If anyone disagrees with my decision here today or feels that they have been adversely affected, they can file an appeal of this decision, and my decision will be set aside until such time the appeal can be heard by the Placer County Planning Commission. Should an appeal be filed, it is subject to a filing fee of $774.
Madam Administrator, just before we move on, for clarity of the record, I would just recommend specifying that the added condition be added as condition of approval number 11.
Number 11.
Number 10, I'm so sorry.
Number 10. Okay, for the record, the added condition of approval will be number 10 in the conditions of approval. Thank you for that. Okay, that concludes this item. Thank you everyone for being here for that. And again, my apologies for the delay. We are gonna move on now. Hold on a second here. Moving on to item number 5 on the agenda. This is our 1020 agenda item. This is the Paoli minor use permit variance and design review, PLN 24-00287. I have not seen any public comment on this item, but I will let staff respond to that and provide a report on the item.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Staff requests the zoning administrator conduct a public hearing to consider the Paoli minor use permit variance and design review and take the following actions. Determine the project is categorically exempt from the environmental review in accordance with sections 15301, 15303, and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, guidelines, and the Placer County Code sections 183630, Class 1 existing facilities, 183650, Class 3 new construction or conversion of small structures, and 183670, Class 5 minor alterations to land use limitations, because the creation of a duplex or similar multifamily residential structure totaling no more than 4 dwelling units is an exempt project under Class 3, and adjusting a setback is an exempt action under Class 5 because it would not result in the creation of any new parcel. There is no exception to this finding. Furthermore, staff requests that the zoning administrator approve a minor use permit to convert an existing 2,700 square foot structure into a multifamily dwelling duplex on a highway service zoned parcel in accordance with Placer County Code section 1758-120 minor use permit, subject to the recommended conditions of approval and the findings contained in the staff report. Furthermore, approve a variance to allow the existing structure to remain in place 4 feet from the north side property line, where 5 feet is required in accordance with Placer County Code section 1760-100 variance, subject to the recommended conditions of approval and findings contained within the staff report, and approve a design review to convert an existing structure into a multifamily structure on a design scenic corridor zoned parcel, subject again to the conditions of approval and findings within the staff report. The applicant and property owner requests the approval of a minor use permit, variance, and design review to convert this existing 2,700 foot structure to a multifamily dwelling, and a variance to allow that same dwelling to remain in place 4 feet away from the north side property line, where 5 feet is normally required. The subject property is located on 2390 Paoli Lane in unincorporated Weimar. The 0.47 acre site is zoned highway service combining a design scenic corridor and is designated low density residential in the general plan. The lot was created as a part of the Frey subdivision. Surrounding lots are of similar size and zoned similar to the site, as well as residential single family and residential single family combining a minimum building site of 20,000 square feet. Surrounding parcels are designated similar to the site, as well as highway service. The lot is currently developed with an existing mixed-use building, a small parking area connecting to Paoli Road, and a private driveway from Hummingbird Hill Road. The lot slopes steeply away from Paoli Lane. The concrete block structure was originally approved as a food market with a basement prior to 1979. In 2003, the basement was converted to living space, and the upper floor remained as a commercial space. Since purchasing the property, the applicant has been working diligently to clean up and refurbish the site and the structure. As previously noted, the subject site is zoned a highway service design scenic corridor. The proposed project, a multifamily residential land use, is allowed in the highway service zone district, subject to approval of a minor use permit. The existing structure currently lies 4 feet from the edge of the north side property line. The minimum side setback for a structure in the HS zone or highway service zone is 5 feet. The applicant has requested a variance to allow the structure to be converted in place 4 feet from the north side property line, where 5 is normally the minimum. The site hosts a significant slope along which the structure is built. The severe slope is not standard for parcels, for like parcels in the zoning and size of the area. While slopes are present on neighboring parcels, they are either less prominent or take up less space, such that they can be designed around. Furthermore, the structure has existed on the subject property since at least 1979. It is likely that when the structure was established, a mistake was made by the builder, causing the structure to be located 1 foot closer to the side setback than was allowed. This is not uncommon, especially for older buildings in rural areas of the county. The project would support the housing element's goals to preserve existing housing stock and to enable a greater variety in it. The zoning ordinance notes that the allowable density of a multifamily development is determined by Table 1-2 in the Placer County General Plan. Table 1-2 identifies 1 to 5 dwelling units per acre as the appropriate range and density for areas designated as low-density residential. The proposal is for 2 units on a 0.47 acre parcel, resulting in approximately 4.2 units per acre if you don't round. Staff also reviewed the project site and its constraints and has determined that there is sufficient area for residents egress and ingress, and that there is sufficient space and availability for septic and water utilities, and that the conversion of the proposed project would not negatively impact neighbors. Staff reviewed the proposed design and project and determined it complies with the mixed-use multifamily, Placer County, and landscape design guidelines. The proposed project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with sections 15301, 15303, and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and Placer County Code sections 183630, Class 1 existing facilities, 183650, Class 3 new construction or conversion of small structures, and 183670, Class 5 minor alterations to land use limitations, because creation of a duplex or similar multifamily residential structure totaling no more than 4 dwelling units is an exempt project under Class 3, and adjusting a setback is an exempt action under Class 5 because it would not result in the creation of any new parcel. The zoning administrator is required to make a finding to this effect. Staff received no public comment on this project. Therefore, staff recommends that the zoning administrator take the following actions. Determine the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with sections 15301, 15303, and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and the Placer County Code sections 183630, Class 1 existing facilities, 183650, Class 3 new construction or conversion of small structures, and 183670, Class 5 minor alteration to land use limitations. Second, approve a minor use permit to convert the existing 2,700 square foot structure into a multifamily dwelling duplex on a highway service zone parcel in accordance with Placer County Code section 1758-120 minor use permits, subject to the recommended conditions of approval and the findings in the staff report. Third, approve a variance to allow the existing structure to remain in place 4 feet from the north side property line, where 5 feet is required in accordance with Placer County Code Section 1760-100 variance, subject to the recommended conditions of approval and the findings in the staff report. And finally, 4, approve a design review to convert an existing structure into a multifamily structure on a design scenic corridor zoned parcel, subject again to the conditions of approval and findings contained within the staff report. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions at this time. I'm going to turn to environmental health.
Environmental Health supports staff's recommendation subject to our conditions of approval in the staff report.
Great, thank you. And engineering and surveying.
Engineering and surveying supports staff's recommendations with the conditions listed in the staff report.
Great, thank you. Okay, so this is a public hearing. I'm going to open this up and see if the owner, applicant, or representative is in the room. Please come to the podium and state your name for the record.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Tom Matari. I'm the property owner. I appreciate the hard work of the staff, and I look forward to getting an approval.
Thank you for
If any
that. Can I just ask you, you've seen the condition, you have your package,
Yes.
you've seen the conditions of approval?
No
Okay.
questions.
Okay, great, thank you. You can take a seat and I'll see, again, it's a public hearing. Is there anyone in the room that wishes to provide public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone in the Tahoe convenience location that wishes to provide comment?
I see no hand raised for the Tahoe location.
Okay. Having a little mic trouble here. Sorry about that. I'm going to close the public comment, public hearing portion, and I'm going to take action on this to determine that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. And I am going to take action to approve a minor use permit. This is PLN 24-00287, which would convert the existing structure into a multifamily dwelling duplex. And I'm going to approve a variance to allow the existing structure to remain in place 4 feet from the north side property line where 5 feet is required. And I'm also going to approve a design review to convert the existing structure into multifamily structure in the design scenic corridor area, which this is located. These approvals are based upon the findings contained in the staff report and which were outlined here by staff today. And then subject to the conditions of approval also included in the staff report. I just want to point out, I'll add an additional finding. One of the priorities of our board is the construction of workforce housing. So I think this fits squarely into that and excited about, actually I was kind of excited to see the project, so thank you for that. So that concludes my actions. I will say that this item, because we did not receive any public comment in writing or testimony here today, I can waive, the only person that has the right to appeal is the applicant, so I can waive the appeal period. So the appeal period is waived. If you choose to do so, you can go up to the front counter and get started on your project. So thank you for being here today, and thank you, staff, for your time. Okay, that concludes that item number 5. We are going to move on now to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 6. So let staff get settled in here. This is the 10:25 timed item. We are way behind, folks. I'm sorry about that. So, but this is the Guyette, I think I got that right, Guyette and Ayers Commercial Kennel Minor Use Permit Type C. This is PLN 25-00220. And I am going to, I will point out we've got a couple of letters that have come in, a few letters, sorry, that have come in. I'm going to ask staff, I presume staff has them and is prepared to address those, but I'm going to turn it over to staff for a report on the item.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Staff requests the zoning administrator conduct a public hearing to consider the Guyette and Ayers Commercial Kennel Minor Use Permit Type C entitlement request. The subject property is a developed 3-acre parcel zoned RES-DCSP, which is resort, combining design scenic corridor, and combining special purpose. It is located off Comby Road in the unincorporated Meadow Vista area. The parcel has the RES resort zoning, which is a commercial zoning applied to mountainous areas, water-oriented, and other areas with significant natural amenities and commercial recreational potential due to its proximity to Combi Lake. Originally, Ms. Guyette applied for a minor use permit for a private kennel to keep more than 4 dogs. However, per section 175650, subsection 16 of the Placer County zoning ordinance, the resort zone requires a commercial kennel minor use for keeping more than 4 dogs. The applicant enters her Siberian Huskies into dog shows as well as breeds and sells the puppies. The applicant plans to keep 6 dogs year-round for show and breeding and requests permission for up to 8 dogs to allow occasional fostering of senior dogs. Per section 175650-17, a private kennel may produce up to 2 litters per year, while a commercial kennel allows 3 or more. During research of the application, the applicant's website had listed 3 litters in 2025. The applicant stated that 1 litter was accidental and they had only planned for 2 litters. All puppies are sold before 4 months of age and therefore are not counted towards the minor use permit limit. Although this qualifies as a commercial kennel by definition, staff determined the activity meets the home occupation standards under section 1756-120. As breeding occurs within the residence and no dogs are boarded outside, the commercial kennel minor use permit will be used to support the applicant's kennel licensing through Placer County Animal Services. The RESDC SP zone property allows this use with approval of a minor use permit. Staff confirmed compliance with development standards and found no design review necessary since operations occur inside the home. On September 12, 2025, a site visit verified indoor kennels, no puppies on site, and a secure outdoor dog run enclosed by a 6-foot buried fence. 3 public comments have been submitted to the zoning administrator. They are an objection to the proposed minor use permit, stating concerns about noise, waste, public health, traffic, and property values. Before reading my recommendations, I need to read into the record a minor clerical correction to the recommended conditions of approval. Condition 6 will be revised to correct the reference from condition 1 to condition 5. Condition of approval 6 will now read as advisory. If the required encroachment cannot be designed to conform to a detail ST16 minor as described in condition 5, the applicant shall submit a design exemption request with the encroachment permit application for review by the DPW and ESD. I also need to correct condition 10, which should replace building permit and completion of a foundation inspection with a kennel license. Condition 10 shall read as follows. The minor use permit PLN 25-00220 shall expire on October 23, 2028, unless previously exercised by issuance of a kennel license from the Placer County Animal Services. Based on the analysis contained in this report, staff recommends that the zoning administrator take the following actions. Determine the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with sections 15301 and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and Placer County Code section 183630, Class 1, existing facilities, and section 183670, Class 5, minor alterations and land use limitations. There is no exception to this finding. 2, approve a minor use permit to allow for a commercial kennel to keep up to 8 dogs 4 months of age or older, where 4 dogs is the limit permitted in accordance with Placer County Code section 175650 F17, kennels and catteries, and section 1758-120, minor use permit, subject to the recommended conditions of approval and findings found in the staff report. The applicant is here, and I'm also available to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions at this time. I might come back to you. I'm going to go to environmental health. Do you have anything to add to the record?
No comments for this project, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And engineering and surveying.
Engineering and surveying supports staff's recommendation with the conditions listed in the staff report.
Okay, thank you. So this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up and ask the property owner, applicant, or representative to come to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Marceline Gayette. I'm the property owner and applicant.
Hi there, how are you?
So far, so good.
Been here, it's been a long morning, I'm sorry about that. So I just want to check to see if you've been provided a copy of the conditions of approval? Okay, and then, understand what was read
corrections.
into the record here today? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And no
do you-
concerns. We're very careful about noise. I know that's the big concern. We live in an area with a lot of dogs, very rural. We are the quiet house in the neighborhood, so we continue to maintain that and foresee an issue with that.
Okay, okay, thank you very much
Thank
for being
you.
here. I might ask you back up, but go ahead and take a seat for now. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide public comment? Come on up to the podium and state your name for the record, please.
My name is
Hi there.
Loretta Hall. Hi. And I live at 2662 Comby Road in Meadow Vista. We built our home in 1990, so I've been there quite a long time. We've had a dog, always, with the exception of 2 years. And most of the neighbors have had a dog or two. We've had horses living next door, and even homing pigeons, none of which have caused the racket and really unpleasant living circumstances for us and all the neighbors surrounding us. They own, I believe it's 4 beautiful huskies, and they are beautiful dogs. And I will say that I have not heard puppy sounds. But those dogs and the dogs that she takes in have caused immeasurable racket in the neighborhood. They run up and down the fence line, agitating and aggravating the dogs on the other side of the fence. So when it's not my dog that's aggravated by her dogs, it's the neighbor's dogs aggravated. And it is a racket. Trust me when I tell you that. And I'm an animal lover. My husband raised and trained 2 dogs for canine use for the sheriff's office. We are animal lovers, and this is above and beyond. The 4 dogs, I don't know if that would be her 4 that she owns on top of the 8 more that she's asking for. I wasn't clear on what that would entail, because that would bring it up to 12. Now, you should know that in October of 2024, there were somewhere between 16 and 17 dogs on her property. So if her current restriction is 4 dogs, what was she doing having 16 or 17 dogs there? So she clearly does not respect the limits that are currently imposed. So why would we give her a bigger limit? In December of 2024, there were 12 dogs. So again, she has been taking in boarders to, run her business when it hasn't even been approved. So she violates. She doesn't keep track of her own dogs. They have gotten out and torn up neighbor's property. That neighbor couldn't be here today, but she will be calling in to voice that and verify. They do have a fence, and they put up some tarp, mesh kind of tarp stuff that was supposed to block the view of the dog. It didn't do a doggone thing to keep the one dogs from aggravating and agitating the other dogs. So you not only have her dogs barking, then you've got the neighbor dogs barking. It is really unpleasant. And I don't want to be that neighbor that complains. This is the first time I have ever attended, and I've been here 2 hours and 25 minutes to be able to get up and speak on my behalf. I brought a letter from a neighbor who couldn't be here. I'd like to
Yeah, why don't you bring that up to the...
to be submitted. I just feel that there could be a better solution to the problem than allowing her to have a commercial kennel in our little corner. It sounds funny to see the dog's voices carry, but trust me, they carry. And I share a property line with her, half with her, half with the neighbor next to her, whose dogs were constantly agitated by her dogs. So I vote no. Just letting that be heard.
Okay, thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
comment. Okay, is there anyone else in the, okay, yes, come on up to the podium and please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Nina Severinsen. I'm a back neighbor on 2648 Comby Road. I'm just gonna be brief. What I know of them, they're actually very pleasant people, but we've escaped Bay Area to live in a rural area without, in a quiet, because our neighborhood is very quiet and peaceful. And I'm worried that the new kennel will, there'll be new, obviously, building structure and lighting. And I also witnessed with my own eyes that the dogs have escaped. I don't think they're really capable of containing them the way they should, because they have escaped and bothered the chickens. Our other neighbor, I don't have chickens, but they're chickens. And then I had another friend that ride horses, and she said that their dog actually bolted at one of her horses, and she had to get off the horse to basically scare the dog out for the safety of the horse. So that concerns me for if we have more dogs, because I don't even know what, like Lori said, I don't know what number 4 means. If it's 4 in addition, my understanding is they already have a lot of their own dogs. And if we have 8 more, that's gonna be like for our neighbor? This is nothing personal, it's just that we just wanna keep a quiet neighborhood.
I understand. We'll get some answers to the questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So
for your
anything
time.
else to add? Is that?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Is there anyone else? Yes, please come to the podium and state your name for the record.
My name's Debbie Stevens. I live on Comby Road also, a few houses down. I, in general, don't care what other people do on their property, but when it starts impacting our life, our quality of life, then it concerns me. I'm hoping that you oppose this just for the noise. Just like these other neighbors have said, I agree with everything that they're saying. It has impacted us already. If there's going to be allowed more dogs, then it's going to be even worse. We just have a, quiet neighborhood. We moved out of the city for this, and one neighbor is impacting the rest of them, and I don't think it's fair. and it's not in with the requirements right now, so I just opposed the variance.
Thank you very much for your comment. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide comment? Okay, is there anyone at the Tahoe Convenience location that wishes to provide comment on this item?
I see no hand raised
Okay,
for
see
the
none.
Tahoe.
I'm gonna take this back to staff just to kind of provide clarity and ask some questions. First, I'm just gonna ask a question about animal control, well, a couple things. One is, it sounds like this is, the use has been there for a while, it sounds like. Do you have record, and you may have mentioned this already, and I am missing it, but of any code violations on this?
No, I don't have record of any code violations.
Okay, so it wasn't brought to the planning department through the code enforcement division, is that correct?
No, no.
Okay.
The applicant had applied for this because she's trying to get a kennel license for part of her business of showing dogs and breeding
Got
the
it,
puppies.
okay. That's what, okay. And then, why don't we go ahead and just clarify for the record the number of, I know it's kind of confusing, right? Because like the in our code, if I remember correctly, litters don't count towards the total that you're allowed in the ordinance.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so do you want to clarify for the record how many total dogs, including her own dogs,
Yes.
that she-
Yes, so for the zoning, you are allowed 4. She is requesting an allowance of up to 8. Her plan is to have 6 full-time and have 2, allowance for 2 on the occasion of fostering older dogs from the pound. So what she is requesting is 6 full-time dogs with the potential of 8 dogs being on site from time to time.
Okay,
So that includes her original four dogs.
okay. So total up to 6, but sorry, a total up to 8, but at full time, so 2 of those would be like boarding. And I might ask you to come up in just a minute, but okay.
It would
And-
be fostering, so a little, I don't know. I think there's a little confusion. There's not going to be a boarding facility being built. It's all contained within the house. So the older dogs would be fostered, as in brought into the house and kept in a crate similar to the other dogs already on the property.
Okay.
What about the boarding that
Okay.
has already been happening?
Okay, I'm talking to staff right now, so the public comment period is closed. Sorry, I'm trying to get some answers on here. So can you speak to that? So it sounds like there wasn't any, we haven't had any record of concerns that have come through our code enforcement division on this. And so although I have heard, here today that it sounds like there have been some concerns from neighbors about noise in the past or even currently. So real quick, I think what I'd like to do is address some of the items that have been brought up here today and that are in the comment letter. So one of them was about noise, and I did want to point out that it looks like you're recommending there's a condition of approval. I think it's number 3 related to noise.
Correct, yes. We did condition this minor use permit to have to abide by the noise ordinance as well as vector control for animal waste.
Okay. And did you engage animal services when processing this?
I had reached out to the Placer County Animal Services, but did not get response back.
Okay. Okay. So have you read these other letters that have been provided today?
Yes, I read them before the meeting, yep.
Okay. And so you have had no coordination with animal services?
No.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have the applicant come on up, and if you want to just provide any context about your operation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a little misconception because originally last year, which I think was mentioned 2024, we were doing some rover sitting and some boarding of other dogs. And that is where we never got to the numbers that were stated, but there were more dogs than we would normally have on the property. And I do agree that we did have some more barking than was acceptable. And that is why we'd originally applied for a permit to consider doing that full time. And realized that, one, it was disruptive to our lives and our neighbors' lives, and we decided to completely cut that off. So we have discontinued all boarding. We do not have an intention to continue boarding dogs. We're going to keep only the dogs that we have. We only want the ability to make sure that we're in compliance. So as I think was stated, we are looking to potentially have up to 6. That doesn't mean that we're going to have 6 full time. That means that there are going to be times when maybe I have a show puppy that I want to keep past the 4-month mark, because it's going to show for a few months before we find a new home. And so our intention has always been, we are considerate of our neighbors. We did have an issue with a neighbor dog that was running consistently up and down the fence line. We do try to be really cautious about noise. We crate our dogs at night. I'm the first one where if I hear dogs barking, I'm making sure it's not ours. And so I'm hoping that if noise is the main complaint, that's something that we would be happy to work with our neighbors with. We understand that's part of the conditions. We fully intend to comply with them. And we're not looking to add really any additional dogs in play into what we already have. It's more of, I think we asked for the up to 8 because that was the max. And there are times when we've got people in the neighborhood that know us that say, hey, there's this senior dog, can you help out? And so we would want to be able to do that and stay in compliance.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Have you engaged with Animal Control Services at all?
We have. I used to do pictures for them all the time. We're trying to just get this done so that we can get the kennel license through them, and make sure that all of our licensing and everything is all correct and up to date. But they've never had any concerns. The only time they've ever been out was someone else's dog bit my husband, so they had to come in and get take the report for it. And I guess there's one more thing I do want to address, which is the getting out. Our dogs, for a while, we didn't have all the fencing, and so we were taking them out. There was a small private dog park by the horse arena. That's where we had the one dog that did get out. My son didn't close the gate. It is what it was. We got the dog back, and obviously that's something of main concern. We don't want to interrupt people with horses, with livestock. After the fence went in, we had one incident where the gate was not properly closed. The dogs got out, ran down to the neighbors, and we had them collected within 20 minutes. We have not had any escape since. We have locks on all of our gates so that there are no escapes, and we walk the fence line constantly to make sure that there's no digging or other things that would let the dogs out.
Okay, okay, great. I'll go ahead and let you take a seat.
Thank you.
I have closed the public hearing. I am actually, I have some thoughts on this. I am not comfortable making a decision on this today. I do think that there needs to be some coordination with Placer County Animal Control Services if they are going for a license with them. I would like the Planning Services Division and Land Use Entitlement to be sort of coordinated and aligned with any license that might be there. They might have some standards that need to be taken into consideration and memorialized through this consideration. So, and namely, some of the comments that we've heard today and some of the concerns that are listed in, in the comment letters that have come in, noise is one of them. We do have a noise ordinance, and I think that there are ways to mitigate noise. And we have noise. I mean, I have noise from my neighbors' dogs barking too, right? We all deal with noise, as some of these folks have noted. But and there is a condition of approval that has been proposed already related to noise, which is great. But there are some other items that are listed in some of these letters that I really want to make sure that staff, work with the appropriate county divisions and departments to address, and that, things like, waste and the carrying and keeping of animals, the odor, waste, pest control, and things like that. And then also just, making sure that the site is meets the standards, kennel standards that should be met when you're operating a kennel. So what I'm going to do is continue this item, and I hate to do that, but I do need to do that. So I'm going to continue it I can either continue it off calendar, or if planning thinks that they can get some of these items addressed in time for the November hearing, I can continue it to November. So I'm going to look at planning right now, look towards planning, and see how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think we can make it work for November.
For November?
Mhm.
Okay. And the November date is the 20th. I'm going to continue this item to the November 20th Placer County Zoning Administrator hearing. It will be at 10 o'clock or any time thereafter. So it might be 10:10 or whatever, but anytime after 10 o'clock on that date. So just know, and I do want to point out, you're not going to get another legal notice in the mail. So this is your notice right now that it will be heard on that November 20th date. So I really appreciate all of you coming out and providing comment, and appreciate the applicant's patience as we kind of navigate through this. So thank you everyone for being here, and sorry for the delay. Okay, we are moving on to item number 7 on the agenda. This is the 1030 item, the Caballero, I got that right, pergola side setback variance, PLN 25-00162. And this is a request for a side setback variance to allow for an existing pergola structure. So with that, I don't see any public comment that I've received on this in the form of letters, so I'm going to turn it over to staff for a report on the matter.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Staff requests the zoning administrator conduct a public hearing to consider the Caballero pergola side setback variance. The project site is developed with a single-family home, detached garage, swimming pool, and the pergola in question is on Lot 9 of the Sun Valley Oaks subdivision. The parcel is zoned RSAG B40 PD1, which is a residential single-family combining agriculture, combining minimum building site of 40,000 square feet, and combining planned residential development, 1 dwelling unit per acre. The applicant started building the pergola in 2023, during which a complaint was filed with code enforcement. Code enforcement found that the applicant was building the pergola without a permit. When the applicant applied for a building permit, it was determined that a variance would be requested because the pergola was within the side setback. The applicant filed a building permit application in 2023, but that application had lapsed, so applied for a building permit again in 2025, as well as for a variance. Staff determined that the pergola encroaches into the 15-foot setback per the Sun Valley Oaks subdivision standards for Lot 9. The applicant stated that he had checked the Placer County webpage for setback information and provided a screenshot that showed the side setback was 7.5 feet. Staff reviewed the submitted screenshot and it appeared the information was found on the Placer County Gridix GIS webpage. During the variance review, the applicant provided an approval letter from the Homeowners Association for the structure and letters of approval from neighbors. Staff asked the applicant why the pergola was built in its location, and the applicant stated it was due to the previous homeowner indicating that there was underground infrastructure in the middle of the backyard between the pool and the detached garage. Staff requested that the applicant provide evidence for this claim. The applicant hired NorCal Utilities Pros, LLC, to conduct a site visit, and they were able to locate and confirm the existence of underground electrical lines in the backyard and provided a map. Staff conducted an aerial analysis of the neighborhood and found that other properties have accessory structures within the setbacks. One ADU was found to be permitted via a minor use permit, but the rest of the structures found could not be tied to any permits. Staff determined that the location of the existing underground electrical infrastructure created a special circumstance that would deprive the property of a similar use enjoyed by neighboring lots. No public comments have been received at this time. Based on the analysis contained in this report, staff recommends that the zoning administrator take the following actions. Determine that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with sections 15303 and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and Placer County Code section 183650, Class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures, and 183670, Class 5, minor alterations and land use limitations. Because the construction of a pergola is an exempt project under Class 3 and adjusting a setback is an exempt action under Class 5, it would not result in the creation of any new parcel. There is no exception to this finding. 2, approve the Caballero pergola side setback variance, PLN 2500162, in accordance with the Placer County Code Section 1760-100 variance, subject to the conditions of approval and based on the findings in the staff report. The applicant was in attendance but had to leave for a doctor's appointment due to this running late, but I am available to answer any questions. He has read the staff report and confirmed and agreed with the conditions of approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to environmental health. Any
No comments on this one.
Okay, thank you. And engineering and surveying. Okay, great. So it sounds like the owner is not present, but this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up and see if there's anyone in the room that wishes to provide comment on this item. Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone in the Tahoe convenience location that wishes to provide comment?
I see no hand raised.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to take action. It does look like, even though the structure was, so I have some thoughts, I guess. It does look like the structure was constructed without a permit, but that they really did, it looks in my opinion like they did do some due diligence, and they got confused about the setbacks for sure. And then they did get the homeowners association approval So, this action here today essentially brings this into compliance. And so what I'm going to do today is I am going to first determine that this project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. And then I'm going to approve the variance, PLN 25-00162, to allow for the existing pergola to remain 5 feet from the side property line where 15 feet is normally required. My action today is based upon the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval also contained in the staff report. And I don't think you had any changes to those, correct? Yep.
That's correct.
Okay. So, yep, the conditions as listed in the staff report remain, and the approval today is subject to those conditions. Because we did not receive any comment on this item, either in writing or in person here today, I can waive the appeal period. So the only person that has the right to the appeal is the applicant. So the applicant can move forward with their building permit. Sounds like they already started it, but they can go ahead and finish that up. So that concludes item number 7 on the agenda. Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to item number 8 on the agenda, which is the 1035 item. This is the Estes Shop front edge of road easement setback variance, and it's PLN 25-00195. I have not seen any written public comment come in on this item, and so I'm going to turn it over to staff for a report on the matter.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Azar Slam, Senior Planner presenting. Staff requests that the zoning administrator conduct a public hearing to consider a reduction to the front setback standard through variance permit PLN 25-00195. Take the following actions. Determine that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with sections 15303 and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and the Placer County Code Section 18.36.050. Secondly, to approve the variance permit to allow a partially constructed accessory 1,800 square foot shop structure to be located 27 feet from the front southwest edge of road easement, whereas 50 feet from the edge of road easement is required, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. In a way of background, I'd like to offer that the 3-acre subject parcel is developed with a single-family house, an attached garage, and 2 accessory storage sheds, and is located at 1940 Little Creek Road in an unincorporated Auburn area. The parcel is zoned RS-AG-B-100. It's a residential single-family combining agricultural, combining minimum building size of 100,000 square feet. A third 1,800 square foot accessory workshop was reviewed and approved for planning code compliance under the building permit application BLD 24-04933. The shop was depicted meeting all setback standards, setback requirements to the edge of easement and the property line setbacks. During construction, the foundation and subsequent framing was inaccurately located due to a field confusion over the identifying the extent of the 50-foot road easement and required setback. As a result, the nearly complete workshop was halted from further completion once the building inspector noted the reduced setback. The variance to the setback requirements is being sought so the structure may be permitted in its current location. For analysis, the proposed project consists of an allowance for a setback reduction enabling legal completion of a nearly complete accessory structure. It's another way to rephrase what the proposal was. The site has some mild slopes, vegetation including mature trees around the subject shop, on-site septic, well, and storm detention facilities. In addition to the existing house, there are other smaller structures, accessory structures, limiting the location and of the partially constructed workshop. As previously stated, when the building site was originally contemplated, it was thought to be placed outside the required setbacks. In good faith, the property owner and applicant worked through the permitting process to a point when it was discovered through a later inspection, this was after the foundation and framing was complete, that in fact the structure was within the required setbacks. For additional context, the easement for future roadway improvement is 50 feet wide and extends approximately 18.5 feet beyond the edge of the paved road. If one were to measure the closest point of the structure to the adjacent property line, there would be 51.5 feet, as demonstrated by attachment A. It's the project plans. Therefore, it's a recommendation of staff. In reviewing the materials presented in the variance application, there is nothing associated with the design or scale of the proposed reduced setbacks and location of the proposed workshop to indicate that the granting of the variance would be inconsistent with the purposes of the zoning code, section 17.60.100 variance. To staff's knowledge, there's been no objections submitted. Based on the analysis contained in the staff report, staff recommends that the zoning administrator take the following actions. 1, determine that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review in accordance with sections 15.303 and 15.305 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and Placer County Code section 18.36.050 class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures, and section 18.36.070 class 5, minor alterations in land use limitations. Because the proposed construction of an accessory structure, small structure, is exempt from the project under class 3, and adjusting a setback is an exempt action under class 5, that would not result in the creation of a new parcel. There is no exceptions to this finding. Secondly, approve the variance permit to allow the reduction for the required edge of easement from 50 feet to 27 feet, subject to the conditions and approval and based on the findings contained within the staff report. This concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions, and I do believe the applicant is here as well, owner applicant.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions at this time. I'm going to move on to environmental health.
Environmental Health supports staff with no additional comments.
Okay, and engineering and surveying.
Engineering and surveying supports staff's recommendations with no comments or conditions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to open this public hearing. I'm going to open it up and see if the owner applicant representative can come to the podium.
Hello, my name is Chuck Estes. I wanted to thank the staff for all the help they've given me
Hi
trying to get through some of these issues. This project started a year ago. Had Dan Pastor Development was going to take care of it for me. Promised he was going to get permits. We came back from a 2-week vacation in Hawaii, and he had the whole thing framed and up, and no permits. So we worked with the planning and building department guys to get all the new requirements to verify that the building was was built as code. Thought we were doing good. Actually got the permit, the building permit. Called for the inspection. He came out, gave me a signed off on the roof sheeting so I could get it covered, and noticed that it looked like the setback on the one corner was off, and it turns out it was. So that was 4 or 5 months ago. We've gotten through all of that and open to get it finished.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for your comment. So just to be clear, you've seen the conditions of approval and the package?
I don't know if I have or not.
Okay.
I believe those were sent to you in an email.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you
we can
take a look at those. I'm gonna see if there's anyone else in the room that wishes to provide comment on this item. Okay.
My neighbors all love it. Loved it.
And sometimes this happens. I mean, we've seen folks that you go out and you construct and,
Well, I went way out of my way.
I've seen this happen before. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I went way out of my way to make it look like an accessory house instead of the big metal building that I wanted to put up. My neighbors like, we don't really like that. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful structure. So why don't you take a seat, and then I'm gonna move forward here. So I'm going to close the public hearing on this item, and I am going to take action first I'm going to determine that this project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. And then I'm going to take action to approve the variance PLN 25-00195, which would allow for the complete construction of the 1,800 square foot shop to be located 27 feet from the front southwest edge of the road easement where 50 feet was otherwise required. My action here today is based upon the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval also listed in the staff report. And so that concludes that item. Because there was no public comment received or provided here today, I can go ahead and waive the appeal period so you can just move forward. I know you've been kind of paused a bit, but go ahead and move forward with your project and kind of hopefully get it wrapped up before winter. So thank you very much for being here. Thanks for your patience. Uh-huh. Turn off my mic there. So that concludes the October 23rd, 2025 Zoning Administrator and Parcel Review Committee hearing, and the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.